It's a huge, it's 6.5 million times bigger than our sun. It's almost as big as our solar system. It was a huge scientific achievement to actually make this picture. They made something which by definition was impossible. They made a picture of something which is not emitting light. But why are we talking about it today? On an Agile conference, it doesn't work. I will answer this question today. But before we go into that, let me tell you my story. Every story starts somewhere, and my Agile story started here, at this very conference, AgileByExample Light. It was a couple years ago. I was a different person. Professionally, I was very much into processes. I was this CMMI Prince 2 type of guy. Processes everywhere. Personally, I was someone different. My parents taught me to be respectful for people, to seek for collaboration, to think about others. Doesn't matter which role they play or who they are in life. To look for an opportunity to do something together. I felt back then that these two words cannot be combined. But this was here, when I've heard that's not true. That people over processes, that you can actually achieve a lot of great stuff, deliver a lot of value by doing something different than just optimizing the processes. This was also here when I met a lot of people passionate about Agile and open to share their learnings. I felt inspired. This was also here. Sorry. This was also here when I've heard about the Spotify for the first time. A company different than others. I will do it. The company different than others. Company led by values. Organized in a completely different way than everything I knew. Transparency, collaboration, empowerment of the team. This was so different to everything that I was used to. There's a lot of strange words as well. Tribe, chapters, guilds. Doesn't even make sense. It felt like something from... So, first of all, it felt like something new, something fresh, but also mysterious, unachievable, like something from the galaxy far, far away. I can still remember how surprised I was when after a couple years of an agile experimentation, exploration, a lot of failures, but learnings, I actually was about to start my first day at Spotify as a chapter lead. I have to tell you, beginnings were tough. Huge language barrier, huge imposter syndrome, unclear expectations. Everything I knew was in some YouTube movie and white paper. So I started asking people about, what am I supposed to do? But it seems that this company is serious about autonomy. So when it comes to talking about values, my boundaries, like good patterns, the anti-patterns, yeah, everyone was completely fine with sharing it with me. But I remember what I've heard from my first manager. If you expect someone to tell you what to do, you are in the wrong company. So what is this chapter lead role about? Let me tell you a little bit about how I tried to understand it. There was 5 roles that were supporting the team in Spotify. Product manager, super easy, just providing an answer for a question starting with why. Designer, someone who understands the behavior of our users, someone who can translate these behaviors into the models of interactions that actually are appealing to the users, and 3 roles on the technology side. Chapter lead, technical owner, and an agile coach. I was wondering, can I make it somehow simple? And this is the model I come up with. That actually you can put these 3 roles on the quadrants on the 2x2 matrix. Top left corner, taking care of individuals, of their growth, of their well-being, but also unlocking their motivation. You cannot motivate someone who is not motivated, but you can try to unlock some boundaries. Then teams and the team culture, ways of working. Third one is a delivery. So how we deliver value in an iterative way. And the last one is technology. So how our product look when you take a look inside. Is it built in a sustainable way without a huge amount of the tech debt? So let's think about these three roles. Back then, it was actually quite clear that there are three very deep roles focused on one particular aspect of this spectrum. And a chapter lead was someone who actually focused on these individuals. And as I said, their motivation. Making sure that the great engineers that we are hiring can actually work in the best possible way. That they feel that they are in a place where they can make a difference, when they feel that they can belong as well. Agile coaches. Before my time, there were a lot of Agile coaches. Actually, in almost every squad, there was an Agile coach. But it's not true anymore. Right now, we have more than 200 squads in Spotify, maybe 40 Agile coaches. But when we have an Agile coach, the focus was mostly on the culture of making sure that this team is a high-performing team with a right set of values and mindset. And the last role, maybe you've heard about it, maybe not. We experimented with something which we call the TO, technical owner. And sometimes it was implemented as one person, sometimes it was a role that was rotating in the team members. Sometimes the whole team took this responsibility. But the idea here was that, yeah, it would be nice to have someone who can take care of the technology and think about the delivery. So having all of this in mind, I actually realized, okay, it's time to jump into this water and try to do my job. So this is what I did. And I did focus on people. I did focus on making their life great in Spotify, to feel that they have a growth path. And it was very good when I have 5 people in my chapters, and all of them somehow look similar. I started with the embedded developers, C++ developers. But very soon, my chapter grew. And I had 16 people from 4 different domains, from 3 different teams. And then there was this moment when I realized that actually I started to become disconnected from them. This is what I've heard from my friends from different companies as well who implemented so-called Spotify model. It's so cool on a paper, but when I have 20 people in my chapter and I'm supposed to spend an hour with each one of them, I am actually disconnected and very busy. So I'm a manager long enough to know that being busy is a very dangerous state for a manager. So I decided to stop. I decided to stop and think. So I ask myself questions like, am I doing the right thing? Am I adding as much value to a company as possible? Am I focusing on the right thing? Who am I? And the answer didn't make me happy. I felt like a dietitian, like as someone who has appointments with people who came to me every week, with whom I talk about their current state, about their goals, about their plans. We paint the better picture. We think about what should be done to achieve this better state. But on the other hand, it was a patient after patient, engineer after engineer. Instead, my view of myself was completely different. What I wanted to achieve was to be a sport coach, someone who can be responsible for something, someone who can pick the players, someone who can prepare for the game, prepare the strategy, maybe even not playing, but still be part of something. Someone who can cheer up the team when they fail, and also to help them learn from the games that we have. It wasn't who I was. So it made me a little bit sad. But every time you feel down in your life, you have something, the life is actually helping you to step back. And this happened to me. My wife gave me a wonderful gift. It was my baby daughter, Gaia. She was born in Stockholm. And this is not her, by the way, on this picture. And it changed everything for me. It helped me to reset myself, not to think about, oh, the work is the only thing you have in life. I spent 8 wonderful months with Gaia. I learned a lot from her. Maybe one day I will tell you more about it. But first of all, I'm very grateful to a company and society who not only allowed me to do it, but also really encouraged me to do it. When I came back after these 8 months, I felt different. I felt much calmer. I felt more mindful about the environment, but I also felt much more organized. You can learn a lot. I also felt new hope. And the reason for this hope was that when I was away, a company started experimenting with a new role, with an engineering manager, started experimenting with a very Spotify way, which means that every tribe, almost everywhere in Stockholm, New York, and other places, started to experimenting with something. They identify their problems, they identify their needs, and they come up with a solution which was good for them. No one in Spotify ever tells you this is the way how you do it. That's why sometimes when I hear about the companies implementing again the Spotify model and having these job descriptions, I haven't seen a job description in Spotify till now, and I do not expect to see it. So everyone was experimenting. What we are doing, we are sharing these learnings, pitching for our ideas. It was almost like an internal, you can think about it, some kind of market of ideas. So the one thing that I was actually missing during these discussions, I needed this model again. I needed something simple, something that will explain the whole concept, as the speaker before me said, on a t-shirt. So this is what I come up with. It's actually a simple formula. The engineering manager is a combination of a chapter lead, agile coach, and TO divided by 3, because in the past it was 3 people doing this job. Right now it's 1 person. Formula worked for me, but I know that there are people who prefer a little bit more visual stuff. So, oh my goodness, you cannot see a lot, I guess. So 3 deep roles, as I said earlier. And this one, the new one, is not deep anymore. It's actually broad. It's very wide role. You have to be present in every aspect of your team. You have to be mindful about technology, delivery, people, processes, everything. And the one thing that is completely different when you compare to the chapter lead, you are actually accountable for all of it. You are not necessarily responsible for making it happen, but there is an accountability, and it is your job at the end of the day to say things that no one wants to say. It is your job to shut up when your team is actually doing a great job. So tricky, isn't it? What is this about? Sometimes when I show people this nice picture of a very easy to grasp, round leader, they completely miss the diversity part. But EMs are like ice creams. There are a lot of flavors of them. And we shouldn't limit people to only one picture. So honestly, what I showed you was the average. When you think about everyone, everywhere, and try to combine it, you will get a picture. But in reality, different teams, different EMs mean something different. Different moments of time, different maturity of the teams means that you have to focus on something different. The diversity is good. Diversity is bringing more into the table, and again, no one in Spotify will tell you that you have to think only about filling yourself into this desired shape. It's up to you to make the right call for the right moment, for the right team, and for your skills. Which means that there is actually a huge risk there. Because in physics, they say that you cannot compare the things that are measured by different measurement units. And I believe that as an engineering manager, you actually do it every day. You have to compare, should I invest my time and my energy and my mental capacity into the people, or maybe the delivery now, or maybe there is a problem with the technology. So how to make these choices? I have no simple answers for you today. But I have a definition. Przemek mentioned about the purpose. I wrote this definition for people who inside who are looking for this purpose again as well. And you can see that there are a lot of stuff there. There is every quadrant from my model is trying to be addressed somehow. But you know what? For me, the most important part is actually the verb in the first sentence. And EM is someone who aspires to be, which means, doesn't necessarily mean that you are there. It's a journey. It's trying to meet the moving target, something which by definition is unreachable. But if someone made a picture of a black hole, maybe also thinking about this way, it's a good way also. So aspiration rather than achieving the goal. This is what I'm trying to say. So again, another journey started. A journey of an engineering manager. A journey with maybe a lot of uncertainty, but also a journey in which we believe we might bring something good for the company for this particular moments of our development. Jürgen mentioned the very beginning of our day that there are different structures for different moments. And I truly believe in that. The Spotify, when 2-3 years ago, when the chapter lead model was created, it was optimized for something completely different than it is optimized right now. So, do we know if we're going to succeed in this? We don't. But there are some things that we want to remember. The first one is about, with the engineering manager role, has a certain power associated with it. But be aware not to abuse it. If you need to use the formal authority to change the behavior of people in your team, you actually suck at your job. This is not what you should do. And additionally, we have to remember that we are playing different roles. That is true. But we are all equal. We are all the same. And the fact that I'm manager of the team doesn't make me smarter, better, or more important. The second takeaway is actually Olga Tokarczuk, a very famous person this year in Stockholm, our Polish Nobel Prize winner. And she says something wonderful about identity. Identity is like a wedding cake. There are many layers of it. And so why limiting yourself to only one layer? And this is my message to you, is that bring the whole you to the workplace. When it comes to me, there's Piotrek, the manager, true. But there's also Piotrek, the father, the husband, the astronomy lover, the music fan. Why should I limit myself to a friction of my person for the 8 hours during the day? I truly believe that in order to build an honest, trustworthy relationship with your team, you have to bring the whole of you to workplace. Okay. We have a black hole again. Why? Some people claim that when it comes to engineering managers, IT managers, there are 3 categories of people. The one that believe that every problem has a root cause in technology. Second one, they believe that it's about processes. And the third one, people and culture. Sometimes these beliefs are so strong that they create biases. And biases shape your view of the world. which means that you might actually perceive reality completely different than it is. And I think that in a role so wide as an engineering manager, it's super important to know these biases, to know your weaknesses, and actually to have a bravery to share these weaknesses with the people you are working with. You have to be able, in order to grow, to communicate your limits. And these are my limits. I'm usually looking for problems in the people or culture quadrant. And I know about it. And that's why it's super critical for me to surround myself with people whose profile is completely different than mine, with people who think primarily the technology or primarily the delivery, to keep my ears open and listen to them and not to get overwhelmed by this so-called power. So this is my profile. Do you know what's yours? So I said that my Agile journey started here. A couple years ago, I was sitting where you are sitting right now. And my journey led me to this place now. I'm really wishing you a great journey as well. Thank you very much.